right, Black Mirror Season 7 is upon us. I started reviewing Black Mirror maybe in Season 3 or 4? They don't put out seasons very often. So, I want to say I started covering this pretty early on in the channel. And funny enough, one of my biggest embarrassments came from reviewing one of the episodes of Black Mirror where I just completely misread an entire episode. Thought a couple was married in an earlier scene, and I was so confused about it, and people were like, what the fuck are you talking about? Somehow because of the way it was edited and whatever, I just thought that this was her husband who had went missing.
Okay.
And, I connected them in my head because they cut to her, and I thought that was his wife. And so for the rest of the episode, I just was like, oh, okay, that's his wife. Yeah. And I just had it locked in my head. And when I was talking about it, I talked about it a ton.
Yeah.
And then people were like, what the fuck are you talking about, idiot?
Oh, that sucks.
So I had to, take that review down so it doesn't exist anymore. Because I was just like, it was all the comments I was getting. It
was like, are insane.
Yeah, they were much, much harsher than that, of course. This was early on, so yeah, it was definitely one of those things where I was like, almost wanted to quit the channel over because you guys hit so hard with so many comments, just really going after you. So
hopefully that doesn't happen this time.
Well, that's what's made, there's a bit of anxiety around covering Black Mirror episodes because of that, but whatever, anyway. Now, we had kind of went back and forth on whether or not to do these individually or all in one. There's 6 episodes, and I have a good amount to say about a few of them. I don't have a ton to say about a couple of them. I don't know how you'll feel with some of them versus the others, so we'll see. I think that what we'll do is we'll talk about episode 1. We'll see how long that takes. And if it's 20, 30 minutes, I don't know. We'll kind of try to gauge it from there, and maybe we'll see. But yeah, Sinister Cinema, welcome. This is how we do shit here. we are the least scripted show on YouTube. I would definitely believe. So, all right. We have Common People, episode 1. I can say that I can definitely be affected by what I watch, no doubt about it. But I haven't been affected by something like this emotionally in a while because it's so, it hits so close to home. And it really it addresses a core issue for me in our society. So it really resonated with me on a multitude of levels, and I really left this devastated. We were walking the dog right after we watched this episode, and I was genuinely having a hard time distancing myself from this fictional story that we had just watched. Yeah. Because of the real world implications of it, right? I was analyzing and feeling the episode, but it extended beyond, and it really bled into my psyche because of how important issues like this are to me and how devastating stories, real stories. I mean, obviously this is science fiction kind of shit here, but it is so close to reality that it was very hard for me to kind of compartmentalize my movie emotions versus my real life emotions, and they really just kind of blended together, and I had a really hard time pulling myself up out of the funk I was in after watching this. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I mean, it affected me. And so that's its purpose. And I think this is a powerful, important episode and message. But fuck, I can't deny that this is not something I'd like to revisit anytime soon, because I genuinely like was emotionally drained.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that one of the things that makes Black Mirror so great is that it's like very, very realistic science fiction. Like the types of technology and stuff that's used in all these Black Mirror episodes are all kind of like, that's what we're working up to. At least that's what it feels like a lot of like technological advances are working up to. And this episode in particular, I think, does such a great job at obviously showcasing like how messed up the healthcare system is, especially in America, but also showing like the commodification of something that should be like a human right.
Yeah.
And it's really, you know, in today's world, like everything is subscription based. Yes. Like everything. And one of the funny things about like we've talked about recently is, you know, we moved away from like cable TV to like go to all these like to go to like a subscription or whatever. Yeah, but now it's so many subscriptions and we're gonna have so much freedom. And yeah, like we just kind of went back to that, but worse.
Yes.
And something like this, like the idea that you could have, you know, you could completely save a loved one, you know, with some life-changing medical procedure, but then get like locked into these like subscription tiers where you only have access to certain like quality of life things, basically, is just probably the most like nightmarish and dystopian thing I've ever seen, and something that feels like it could 1,000% happen. And you know, in a lot of ways it kind of already does with healthcare in general, like with insurance, especially if you're in the States. Like, you know that there's just so much dealing with like doctors and medical things that it just costs so much money. Even with health insurance, it can still be an insane fee, and it does feel like you're kind of have like certain levels of care or again, quality of life is like not available to you because you're in a certain pay like bracket.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one was very emotional and like I said, very dystopian.
And then of course it comes down to like how it weighs on your like confidence level in who you are, right? Like you genuinely don't feel like you're worth it, right? It's like, no, you don't have the funds to be healthy, you know. As somebody who suffers from some like not only mental issues with my health anxiety, but a lot of physical ailments. I mean, I'm kind of riddled with them, and the reality of it is that I don't have the money to even address the issues, to even find out what they are. And it always feels like it's a ticking time bomb inside of me of like, you kind of sit there and you go, I mean, I'm young enough where you're like, there's probably not anything really wrong, but you don't know, and it's like a dice roll. And there's so many people that deal with this that just kind of, you know, slough it off and are just like, well, I can't afford to go get a colonoscopy. I can't afford to go get whatever, you know, scan or whatever you need blood work done. And so you just kind of, you know, you go to the doctor and they're like, well, you know, I'll give you a quick once over. You seem like you're pretty healthy, but we need to run these extensive tests or whatever. And it's like, do you have medical insurance? And then people get tethered to their careers because, you know, they're offering them this medical insurance, and if they leave that job, it's a form of like indentured servitude, where it's just like you're really tied to that company with your life, pretty much, you know, because who knows how long it's going to be before you can get another job. Will they offer health care? Will it be the same that you had before? You know, it's nerve-wracking. And when you don't have it, like I don't, and I haven't my entire life, because it would be so insanely expensive to do so, it genuinely makes you feel less than. Right, where Kaylee has to listen to it all the time, where I'm constantly talking about like how, oh my God, if I had money, the literal, like, people fantasize about buying a house, a car, or a fucking yacht, screwing Playboy models in a mansion or whatever if they won the lottery. And it's always like, first thing I say, always, I would go get my teeth fixed and my body checked up and just try to feel better. I just want to feel normal. I don't want to feel superhuman or anything. I just want to feel normal. Right? And when you have a healthcare system that is for profit and predatory, it really genuinely makes you feel like you're just not you're not important. You genuinely feel that. Like, I genuinely feel that in society. I don't feel like I matter at all. Like, if I drop dead today, outside of you and maybe a couple subscribers and my kids, of course, it's not going to have much of a ripple effect, right? Like, and that's just the reality of things. But man, this feels like that next level of like, you really mean nothing. We don't give a fuck because we have it. It's right there, right? That's always the frustrating thing. Is like the technology, the medicine, the equipment, whatever.
Like
it's all right there. It's right there, sitting in front of you, and they're like, do you have this? Do you have this currency? Do you have this thing that can get me that so that I can give it to you? And it's like. Anyway, I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent here because this is where I could go off for an hour and a half. I think, man, it really tapped into that part of me that really upset me.
Yeah, I think that this episode is like really perfectly structured too because like the predatory aspect is definitely like really obvious with Rivermind and how she passes out and has a tumor in her head and they're just like completely unprepared for some type of medical emergency like that and the Rivermind representative comes in and is like, hey, look how wonderful this is. Yeah. The surgery's free. It's only $300 a month. And it's like, yeah, that sounds like, okay, $300 a month, and free surgery. And, she's fixed and, good to go. And then it's just, as things, progress. And obviously, again, there's more and more, the subscription tiers change. And they keep getting all of these, negative side effects. It's just, it really does feel like it can't possibly get worse, but then it still gets worse and worse. And obviously, this episode has just such a horribly tragic ending. Probably the saddest of all of the episodes this season. Yeah.
Oh yeah. 100%,
by far.
100% without question.
But yeah, the advertisements for me, that was definitely something that really
such
freaked
a violation.
Me out. Yes, because I feel like that's something they I don't know if it's been another Black Mirror episode, but it's definitely something that's been talked about, the idea that you could advertise in people's dreams and stuff, and being able to not, this is different. This is she just becomes a walking advertisement. But it's the same kind of concept as that. There's nowhere in life that is free of being marketed to and trying to be made into a consumer of some kind.
Yeah.
And it's even worse that she has no awareness that she's doing it until people tell her. Ugh. And she's suggesting to her student to go to a Christian counseling place and telling her boss to go to this 50 and up dating thing.
Sure, and she can't even she can't even control what ads she puts out there.
Yeah, it's just
right?
whatever.
So she can't line them up with something that she supports.
Yeah.
Right, where she could be a Muslim or she could be not religious at all or whatever, and she's out there, promoting Christianity to a student, where of course that's not acceptable, although there's plenty of people in this country that would love that to be acceptable, but regardless, it is such an insane violation of hijacking her avatar and making it say things that she does not hold true to herself.
Yeah.
And it's imagine advertising things that you beyond don't support, but also you're losing moments of your life.
Well, yeah.
And then she has like the sleep thing.
I was gonna say it's the same thing with like when she has to sleep longer and longer because they're literally using her brain power, the machine power of her brain to help support the rest of the system. And so yeah, same thing, like sleeping 16 hours a day on the common tier, and it's just so sad. And then obviously everything with her it's just a nightmare because she has she's losing all these parts of her life. But then also her husband.
She also doesn't feel rested.
She doesn't feel rested. She says she doesn't dream.
Yeah.
And it's she's in sleep mode, which is just so,
her
again,
brain is working.
So dystopian and awful.
Yeah.
But then her husband, seeing that side of the story with just how much he loves her, and he's just doing literally anything he can to try and keep paying for their subscription, which that was definitely something we talked about this for this episode was the amount of money is definitely a lot, but it felt like something that could have been manageable. Like the $300 a month split between two people.
Yeah, $150.
Now,
$150.
if they have a mortgage, if they have car payments, if they have all these other expenses, obviously they have other expenses, I get it, but we don't really necessarily know what the other expenses are, so we don't have context for if she's paying off student loans or whatever. That could easily if you gave us a $300 a month extra bill, I mean that would definitely throw things out of whack for sure. But
it happens to us.
But it does increase
because your teeth.
Yeah.
When we got your.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
but it does increase too. Like when she goes
to
the next
low,
tier, it goes
right?
to 800.
Yeah, plus the 300.
Yeah.
Right.
Or is it 500 plus the 300?
Something.
I don't know, but it does increase so much,
oh
and just seeing him take all these extra hours at work and him not getting any sleep, and then they don't really have time together, and the Lux thing when that gets introduced is just what are you talking about? But then the fact that you can buy little upgrades that are just drugs,
little
they
teasers,
just essentially are they make her a drug addict because it's that's what's also so insidious about it is that it's not just that all these features are locked behind a paywall, but also her actual life feels worse and worse, and then she gets a taste of what the enhancement could be, and it's I mean nothing's gonna live up to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean when they go to have their anniversary, and she turns her pleasure center up, and she has a 24-hour window to just feel good, and oh my god, that right there. There's a couple things that definitely hit me the hardest. That is definitely one of them, because as somebody who feels like shit all the time, and whenever I feel great, you can tell, Kaylee can tell, anybody can tell when I'm feeling good, because I just act like a completely different person, and I always make a statement of holy fuck, if I felt like this all the time, I could rule the world. It genuinely feels it feels unfair, and it feels like this is how normal people feel all the time. This is fucking crazy to me, but you kind of become used to it, desensitized to it, whatever. And then, the drug addict thing of her upping all of her senses and just feeling amazing after going through the hell where she's not being able to sleep, not being able to whatever, not, losing tons and tons and tons of time. Almost like she's just dead. I mean, she barely ever came back.
Yeah.
Because they just couldn't afford to have her back for real. Yeah. She just kind of is on borrowed time, and it very much feels like she's not worth it, right? And so, when she goes and they're having sex, and she's just fucking orgasm right and left. She's so overwhelming. Yeah. Of course, I mean, who the fuck wouldn't want to feel like that? And then he sees all of this, and of course, as someone who loves their partner, it's that's the other side that got me, right? It's Haley's sick, Kaylee's feeling terrible, and I can do something to make that better. To be fair, like we had talked about, I'd be selling everything in this house. I'd be selling the house. They seem to have a house. I'd be selling the car. I'd be selling whatever. Downgrade your car. Get a beater car. Ride a fucking bicycle. Get it, whatever. Like, you're going to go through those things, but he decides he's going to go on Dumb Dummies.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, like, the reality is that they need a constant stream of money. So it's like, even selling everything, like, okay, like, they'll be good for a few months or something. But, with how much, like, the lux and everything just keeps going up, and it's like, the prices will just continue to increase.
Yeah.
But so then he goes onto this website, which is just, like, horrible of just, people paying whoever to do awful stuff to themselves. Yeah. And just his like embarrassment and the humiliation that he has to go through when he goes in masked, wearing a mask so he hides his identity, but then he does end up taking it off, and then of course there's some asshole at his work that like watches it regularly, so he sees him and ends up creating a fight where it makes him lose his job and everything, and it's so awful. And then we jump forward like a year, which is crazy. So they've been doing this for like, at least a couple years.
Yeah.
And like he gets her, she sleeps for who knows at that point how long she's sleeping. And he gives her that like little the taste of the lux, and then she's like, yeah, I want to die, which is just so horrible that he has to, like, he smothers her while she's
in an
saying an ad because she's not there. She's, like, not, like, conscious of what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, my God. And then he goes off to kill himself.
For money.
For the money to pay for what he had already, like, the money he already got, because he got it in advance, I guess. I think he would have done it either way, though, even if like that wasn't what he was going to do originally. Like his life is kind of it's just the meaninglessness of it, right?
Imagine the sick fuck.
Oh my God, who's
that
like, I'll
wants
pay
to
you.
pay you. I mean, I'm not killing myself for him. I'll say I'm going to kill myself. I wouldn't do that. I'm not killing myself. But I'm saying if I was this guy, I would say I'm going to kill myself for you and then take the money, and then I would kill myself not on screen. And just like, what's he going to do about it? My wife and I are dead.
Yeah.
You can't get it back.
Yeah.
So fucking him going into the room and actually doing it for the guy on the screen, no fucking way.
Oh yeah, the other part too is that they wanted to have a baby.
Yeah, I was going to get to that.
And she was, and she's like, the Rivermind rep is like, oh, you're not pregnant, are you? Because like that
costs extra.
That costs extra because of how much like computing power your brain essentially has to do when you're pregnant. And it's just like all their hopes and dreams just dash, just being like, you can't afford to live or to have a child.
Yeah. I mean, of course, this is semi-reminiscent of, like, Severance, in a way.
Yeah.
Where something has altered your brain, and they can kind of control it. I thought maybe this chick who was working for Rivermind was Severance, sort of, where she was kind of in work mode or advertisement mode, but for work. And, like, when she left there, that shut off, and she was able to get her body back, and that's how she was able to afford it, was by being a rep for them, and kind of selling her soul so she didn't have to go through what they did. So I thought maybe that was what was going to get shown, but no, what ends up happening is that she's able to, while, I'm assuming, work for the company, she gets, like, free lux, or whatever the fuck. She just turns her like nonchalant all the way up, so she doesn't.
She's not bothered by anything.
She's not bothered by the fact she's fucking these people over.
She doesn't have any kind of like emotional reaction to them.
Oh my God, that upset me so much when she was just like, oh, like I'm feeling something. Let me turn off my feelings so this doesn't matter to me. Because that's what it feels like.
Yes, it does.
When you talk to these people on the phone, like insurance people or whatever, and you're like, because this happened to my father. He was going in for a life-saving surgery, and they were trying to deny his coverage. He'd paid on his coverage for years and years and years and years and years. Never asked for anything, never goes anywhere, never does anything, and then he gets cancer. And it's like the day before the surgery. And they're like, actually, because you filed this thing off, whatever, we're actually going to cancel the surgery and we're not going to cover you. Maybe if we can fix this error, then we'll go back in and we'll reschedule. But it takes like 6 months to get these schedules.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll be dead by then. Like, and they were trying to fuck him every way they could. The good thing is my dad knows, like, everybody because he's a hairdresser and he does like rich people's hair all day. So he knows a bunch of doctors and he knows a whole bunch of people. So like they started calling for him, and they got it through, and he ended up getting the surgery, and he beat his cancer because of it. But had he been someone else,
well, yeah, and
he'd be dead.
The reality
and the people on the phone very much turned their meter to 180%. They did not give a fuck that he was dying.
Well, there's a couple things too. One, most of the time, like when you're dealing with like customer service people, they don't have any actual like control over like what coverage is.
Oh, I
like,
get it.
You know, they don't have that kind of power.
I'm not.
The other part...
If everyone says I'm not working for this company, then they're fucked and they can't exist.
The other part is also that this happens with people who are in healthcare in general, is that they just get very desensitized to hearing, you know, the same thing. And that sucks. I'm not saying that's a good thing at all. But I'm just saying this is a good commentary, though. The show and this episode, that rep is a really good, like, example of like you said, like how it feels when you're dealing with health insurance companies or even just like medical doctors or whatever in general.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's like that disconnect where it doesn't feel like they're treating you like another human. It's just sort of like your numbers on a page.
Having done hair for 20 years and talked to thousands and thousands of people now, I can tell you unequivocally that every doctor that I've done the hair of, every nurse, everyone in the medical field of any sort, I have talked to them about this topic. Every one of them. It's just it's something I'm very passionate about. So for me, this is always a topic that gets brought up when they're an optometrist, if they're a gynecologist, if they're fucking, you know, I have one client right now who works specifically with blood clots, you know, whatever. I have tons of these clients throughout the years. 100% of them, without fail, always tell me a single payer healthcare Medicare for all system would be better.
Yeah.
Every single one of them is like, oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, it's insane what they do to these people. So, they're not that desensitized. They're very much like, I wish I could help more. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how often, you know, I can't do something for somebody and how much it hurts me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway. So, let's see if I have any other things in here. You can, of course, if you got anything you remember. Oh, man. The scene where he sells their crib to some fucking, like, Gen Zers. And they're like, oh, we're not having a baby. We're just shooting a music video. We're going to burn it. That is like, that's such a fucking perfect, like, symbolism.
Yeah, and him laughing at the end with his tooth missing.
He can't help himself. It's so, it feels so comically against them.
Right.
Where it's like, of course you're not going to actually use this for a baby. This thing will never get used for a baby.
Yeah, yeah. It's so sad. That's why this is like such a tragic episode.
Like, nothing that we touch will ever have an infant connected to it.
Yeah.
Like, we're just not meant, because it feels like the world is shutting them out.
Yes.
Even on a DNA level. Like, you're not even going to reproduce. We're not even allowing that to happen.
Yeah.
Like, you guys, we're snuffing out your bloodline.
It's awful. It's such a hard episode, and it's like for that to be the first episode too. Dang,
oh, it was
that
a
was
lot.
Such a crazy, crazy start to the season.
Yeah.
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 Really, really fantastic one.
And then them having to pay to upgrade for going out of network.
Oh yeah,
so she can't leave the area because her like cell phone coverage won't allow her to go. And they try to like go on her anniversary, and it's like beyond the county line, even though they checked it. And he's like, "Oh, we're reworking things because we're upgrading the system or whatever."
Awful.
And she's
like the loopholes.
The chick, because she becomes the face of the company.
Yeah.
I don't know who's actually in charge or whatever. But the chick who comes and is like his salvation, who's like basically the devil in disguise.
Yes.
I haven't hated a character like that in a while.
She did such a great job.
Because she tries to do such a like a, oh, I'm your best friend. Smile on her face the whole time.
Such a good job. Like in the beginning when she first talks to him, I was like, yeah, I would probably believe her.
Yeah.
I would be like, yeah, like, you're telling me the truth, like, you're being honest and, like, genuine.
Yeah.
And then as things just get worse and worse, it's like, yeah, why? It's a miracle that he didn't try and just kill her.
Oh, 100.
Because it's just like...
If he was going to kill himself anyway and his wife,
Yeah.
I would have actually liked to have seen him kill her.
Yeah, she did a great... she had a great performance, that actress.
Yeah.
But yeah, the coverage and the, like, location being, like, locked into one spot, again, just... It is just one thing after the other.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do we want to move on to episode 2?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. How much time? Okay, we got time. So I guess we'll just do it in one video here. We'll talk till we can't. If we have to stop, maybe we'll make it 2 videos. We'll see. Episode 2. I don't know how to say this first word.
This is the hotel.
Bete noire. Bete. However, I know what it means. It means a person you dislike, pretty much.
This isn't Hotel Reverie.
No,
For some reason I keep thinking 3. This one was a really cool episode, though.
Yeah.
This is the one with the, like, geeky girl that gets hired at the chocolate, like, company.
Yeah.
And
who looks
like,
a hell of a lot like Nicole Kidman.
The whole time we were like, that's Nicole Kidman. That's young Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
She looks so much like her. She has, like, the same exact, like, body type and, like, bone structure in her face and same kind of hair and everything. Super cute. Super, super cute. Yeah. I thought this one was really cool, though. I liked it a lot.
This is like the all... Okay. I want to preface this by saying that I am, and I'm assuming you'll probably be there with me, I'm coming at this episode as a person who was formerly bullied. Mm. Right? So I don't have a lot of sympathy for people who are bullies. I famously despise them, and I know I should, like, probably go to therapy and forgive and forget and move on, but I still hold a lot of hate in my heart. It's unhappy and unnatural, or unhealthy. That's the word I'm looking for. It is for me to be like that.
Yeah.
But I am very much under the belief that people don't fundamentally change. I think that you can. I think every once in a great while there's an Ebenezer Scrooge out there that has some genuine epiphany that changes them at their core. I think it's fucking rare. I think it is insanely rare. It takes a very specific type of person who's really able to reflect, and typically it has to happen under severe duress. Like, I don't see it happening much other. I'm generalizing a bit here, but for the most part, and the reason I know this, and this is anecdotal, of course, is that whenever I run into someone from, like, my high school days, at first glance, and in talking to them for a short amount of time, it feels like, oh wow, this person has changed, right? They seem like a totally different person. They look different, they have a different career that you wouldn't expect, and they talk a certain way, whatever. But the more you hang out with them, and once you get to start to see the real person, they revert right back. Like when things aren't going smooth, when things aren't perfect anymore, they immediately revert back to that fucking same piece of shit back in high school that you knew. And you're like, oh, no, you haven't changed at all. This is the same fucking person that I always knew. And so I think some people will watch this kind of stuff and they'll look at this character as kind of pathetic that she still holds this grudge on something that happened to her in high school. But all that says to me is that they've never endured the level of pain and misery and embarrassment that can be your life in your formative years. This is another thing that it's like, it's another episode where it was like, it's really drudging up, like, past pain and trauma, where I'm sitting there like, no, fuck this girl. And while I think the ending is funny and kind of interesting and whatever, I fucking hate that she wins and ultimately, like, basically becomes a god.
Well, I think that there's two aspects to this episode. One, obviously, yes, the effects of bullying can be so much more impactful than people realize. But also, just because you're bullied doesn't mean that you now get to become the bully and become a villain.
No.
And to be quite frank, too, I don't think that, like, you being bullied, like, this girl, you know, there's a rumor that's spread about her, she's not popular, all this stuff, all that is horrible. But does that mean that she gets to become the god empress of the universe and just treat people like puppets and kill them and do all kinds of things? Like, no, she literally, like, and yes, you can argue that the bullying is what turned her into that. Like, I get that that's also part of it.
Okay, but remember though,
I think she still is the villain of the episode. I think they're both awful.
Let's take it back a bit though, because number one, this is about power, right? It's about the power dynamic flipping, right? When you're the bullied and you're dealing with your bully has the power and you don't. And all you need is to flip the power dynamic, and you have the power and they don't, right? That's not her intention with creating the tech that she creates. She wants to feel better about it, right? And so she creates this tech and she rewrites reality. And she does everything she can. She changes every bits of reality that she can. She literally becomes like an empress of the universe. This is what's great about this episode, because you can do all that shit. You can change the whole world around you. Everything can be perfect. But those scars are deep.
I get that.
And
I know that
she can't fucking let it go.
Yeah, I know that she doesn't create the tech to get revenge. I know that's not like initially what happens. But I think that this is also this is that kind of like the folly of revenge. Like, her getting revenge on them, it doesn't eliminate the scars still. Like, yes, they're still there, but it's like, it doesn't, like, she's just becoming like as bad or worse than them, because she's now going to, like, you know, destroy their lives and get them to kill themselves and everything, right? Like, I just think it ultimately shows that, like, yeah, I mean, it impacts her, and it impacts her, like, in a lasting way, but she also becomes the bad guy too in the end, because she tries to, like, again, get revenge on her bullies.
They start a rumor about her giving her teacher a hand job that fucks her life up, and what it does is it creates a false narrative and a false reality, and people remember the world different than she does. From what I can tell, she did not jerk this guy off.
No.
She had a really close connection with him. He was the only person in her life who truly paid attention to her in a way that made her feel special. And when they did that, it rewrote reality. It made it so that everyone thought he was a predator. It made her look like she was pathetic.
Yeah.
And so her memory of the world with him is completely different than the world around her. And so she does this to them. She makes them feel fucking crazy in their world, where they look like the asshole, and they're giving everyone shit about reality, and they're trying to defend their position like, no, I didn't jerk him off. And it's like, yes, you did. Yes, you did. There's all this evidence against you. And it's like, that evidence is fake, whatever. But regardless, it's flipping the world on them to make them feel like her. I mean, you reap what you sow.
I think that's very clever, and I like that. And I'm not trying to say that I'm defending her bullies, but, and if it was just that, if it was just like, I'm gonna fuck with your reality so that, like, people think you're kind of crazy, or like you're whatever, like having all these mood swings because you're like, you know, obviously like the Bernie's thing, right? When she's like fighting with her coworkers and everything. And like, that would like shock your system, and you would just be like, what is happening? that's all fine, but it's obviously the fact that she then, like, leads, you know, the other classmate to commit suicide, and, like, that's her driving goal, is, like, I'm gonna get you to kill yourself because of how, like, scared and awful you feel, because that's how I felt. So I'm not trying to defend the bullies. I'm not saying that they didn't necessarily have, like, some kind of karmic, like, you know, something coming to them. But I do just think that she becomes the villain. Like, she's still, like, ends up being a bad person through everything.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's not a criticism on the story. That's how I feel about it, because I think it's easy as people who've been bullied to be like, yeah, like, if I could just, like, fuck with my bullies, like, that would fix my problems, but it doesn't. And it would not.
Once again, though, she's still the same fucking person she was in high school. She is still a shithead. She still tries to pretend like she doesn't know her. She tries to deny everything. Yeah. She tries to rewrite history by being like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah. Own up to that shit. If she would have been like, oh my god, I fucked up.
Oh yeah,
I'm
like from
so
the beginning.
Sorry. Like, yes, I remember you. Pulled her aside. I really wonder what would have happened. This is funny to think about this. But this reminds me a lot of the Billy Madison scene. Where he calls up all the people he's bullied in the past, and he calls Steve Buscemi's character, and he apologizes, and Steve Buscemi's character is, like, trying to play, like, aloof, and like, I barely even remember you, it's like no big deal. And then when he puts down the phone, he literally crosses his name off a hit list.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure, right? No, I agree. I think, like, if from the beginning she was like, oh my god, like, I was so horrible to you.
I think
I'm
she
so
would have.
sorry. Yeah, I do think that maybe she would have.
Yeah.
Like, but because, I agree. I think because she is ultimately the same, you know, kind of version of herself, that it's like, no, I'm not going to let it go then.
She's kind of asking for it. I'm sorry.
And it is, you know, it's a very interesting episode to, like, just before you know what's happening, obviously, where all these things are changing around her, and you're like, how is she doing it? And obviously, it's like their little mini remote control.
She doesn't even want her to get hired because she doesn't want to be around like her. You know,
she doesn't even have a good reason for it. She's just like, oh, she's kind of odd and, like, off. Like, she just doesn't want to be.
She doesn't want to deal with you know, her past and her
anything.
Guilt. Yes. She wants to completely ignore what she did to this girl. Yeah. That's fucked up.
Yeah, that's is
super
up.
Fucked
Especially
up to me.
Because she's like, oh, she looks so different. And it's like, yeah, she's obviously grown and changed, and, like, you know, she's blossomed into this, like, beautiful woman and everything.
She's probably jealous.
Yeah, probably.
Not that this girl isn't
I do think
attractive
she
as well,
is jealous.
but I'm just saying.
Yeah. I do think there is jealousy that happens there, especially with, like, her conversations with her boyfriend and stuff, and how he's kind of like, well, she sounds fine, like, she sounds cool, like, what's your problem with her? And she's
but
just,
she probably
like,
rewrote history.
She might
to
have.
be attractive,
that's the other thing.
Right?
We don't know. Well, yeah, we don't know. Well, yeah, of course.
Right.
Of course, she'd be like, I'm going to be the best looking version of myself that I can.
Right.
Which is fine. But what's cool about this is that she's not really even, like, rewriting it. She's just jumping into different, like, timelines. Because of, like, you know, the multiverse, like, every possible, like, slight different thing. Yeah. There's a reality where that exists. And she's just like, okay, I'm in the reality where I have no acne and I stay slim and blah, 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 blah. Right. And my that's cool, though. Smaller, but it is sad because it's like those other versions of her still exist. All those other realities are still out there. And she's just kind of, like, hot, like, her consciousness is just hopping between them. Yeah,
sure.
Very cool, though. That's definitely, like, an interesting concept. And honestly, I mean, like, when you think about it, like, you already are, like, jumping between realities. You just don't get to see, like, what the other, like, options were. Because it's like every choice that you make obviously puts you into a different, like, timeline than whatever. Very cool. Very cool episode. Yeah, I liked it quite a bit.
Some good gore.
Some good gore at the end.
She gets shot in the head.
That was messed
and they
up.
show it. It's gnarly looking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think being Empress of the Universe would get really boring very quickly. I don't think you should start with that one. I think that should be the one you, like, work up to. Like, but you should just, like...
Yeah, she's flipping the power dynamic because that's what she ultimately wants.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's kind of said throughout that she's, like, you know, her boyfriend even says, like, you sort of like being the one in charge and, like, the one where all the attention and praise is on and everything. So, yeah. Good episode. Don't bully people. And then don't go and kill your bullies.
No, because we might come for you.
The bullies will come, or the bullied will come for you.
Yeah, we might come for you.
Well, no, I'm just saying don't do. I'm also saying to the people that are bullied, don't go and kill your bullies because you don't want to be as bad as the bully or worse.
They die. It's not so terrible, is it? All right, episode 3, Hotel Reverie.
Yeah.
This was definitely a fascinating one. This, of course, like you had mentioned, and it was the instant thing I thought of as well. There is by far the best Creepshow episode.
Yeah.
I forget what the episode's called, but it stars Justin Long.
Yeah.
And he creates this program where he's able to go into a movie. And his favorite movie is Horror Express, which was shocking to me when he picked that movie of all movies. I thought it'd be a fictional movie. I never thought it would be a real fucking movie I love. And he gets to go into that movie, and you get to see him literally inside the scene talking to characters. That's like one of the coolest episodes of a show I've ever watched because of how much I love Horror Express. But this is Hotel Reverie. This is a fictional movie.
Yeah.
Of course they had to do that for what ends up all happening in here.
Yeah.
There's no way they could pick a real film with a real actress and whatever in it. But so I thought it was kind of funny that this is a little bit of a wink and a nod to recasting like classic films, gender swapping and race swapping, which doesn't go over so well most of the time.
Famously, the internet freaks out about that. I love that they did that though.
But they're also like, this is that example though where they're literally okay. So like when they remake something, you're not touching the original film. Right? The original film is untouched. That's like one of our main arguments. Whenever something gets remade, people are freaking out. And it's like, The Little Mermaid's black. And it's like, you still have the Disney one.
Yeah, like just go watch the one that you like if you like really hate the new ones.
Right? So that one is untouched. Yeah. But in this, they literally take the original film and insert a black woman onto and over a white male.
I thought that was awesome.
And I'm like, oh my god, the reaction the internet would have to that.
But to be fair, the same thing applies where the original does still exist, right? But the novelty
they should have said that in the movie, that they're erasing all copies of the original and replacing it with this. Oh my god.
Funny. But I mean, the novelty of this is like, okay, well, what if we take a modern actress and put them in this like old role, like with the original, like, you know, characters and actors and stuff. And I think that's really cool. And I like that. I mean, it is supposed to be a totally different, like, you know, we start off with her, what's her name? Friday? The actress,
it's like Brandy
Friday.
Right?
She's like, I don't want to be the one that's chased after anymore. Like, she's tired of being that, like, the female love interest that's like the Ryans are going after. They keep talking about the Ryans, which I thought was really funny. And that's fair, because I think there's probably tons of women actors that, you know, or actresses that have that same kind of problem and criticism where they're like, I want an actual role, like I don't want to just be the like love interest or whatever. And she wants to be the one that's doing the pursuing, like she literally says that. So for her to get into this like classic like romantic film where she gets to be the character that, you know, is stereotypically like a guy, and to be in that role, and obviously it totally changed. I mean, for so many reasons this is a totally different like story because of tech malfunctions and stuff, but I thought that was a very interesting concept. And you know, the idea of going into a movie, like going into one of your favorite movies and just being there. I think the first movie I said was Halloween, and you were like, no.
Why the fuck would I want to go into Halloween?
But just like, I don't know, just think about like if you could be like outside the Myers house, or just like on that street.
Yeah. It'd be cool.
And then you'd see Michael and you'd like fucking feel like, get me out now.
It would be cool.
But it'd be cool, right? Like the wind, and like it's the 31st of October, and you're like, you hear the music too, because like that was the other thing too, is that it's like
diegetic music.
The diegetic music is still there. So much of this is cool though, like, so obviously them going in, but then also like when there's scenes that, like, the fade and stuff, like, it impacts her, like, the way that she travels in the film.
Yeah.
You know, like, in some scenes when she's not on camera, she can be, like, off scene, off camera,
Yeah.
like, talking to the people or whatever. But then other times when it's, like, a montage
Yeah.
and stuff, she's just, like, kind of going. I thought that was a really cool thing.
So, okay, one of the, of course, big issues with this story for me was that they continued to keep... Okay, so there's like a bunch of different things. I don't want to overanalyze it and be too harsh on it and be like, oh, these little nitpick, stupid things. These are more just for fun because I found this to be silly. Number one, she learned all of her lines for the entire film, like, basically overnight. Now, it is a favorite film of hers.
Yeah.
But remembering every single line and every mark, right, within the film, where they're just gonna, like, she's just gonna walk into the movie and immediately know how to play every scene, and they can't restart anything. It's like they play the movie, they can't stop it, rewind it, record from there, start over, and they can pull her out and restart, and you have to do the whole fucking film every time.
That's only because of there's technical problems.
Yeah, they can't pull her out once
and
they
like,
can't
restart or anything. But this would have been like, okay, like, let's go through it, and then if we need to, like, redo it, we'll redo it.
Oh, they needed to redo it.
Yeah.
Because they released this.
That's what's so funny. Like,
That's
when she
ridiculous.
goes to play the piano, she's like, let me go play you Claire de Lune or whatever, and she's like, ding, and just, like, looking around at everyone.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
Because... Yeah, like, she's
playing chopsticks now.
She doesn't know how to play the piano, and they're like, what do you mean you don't know how to play that song? And it's like, the level of, like, miscommunication between the company and, like, her, and just the fact that this is, like, a new thing, right? The Redream is, like, this whole new... I mean, like, it is very funny.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And the other part, too, with this is, and Black Mirror does this in some other episodes, and this isn't a new, like, science fiction concept, but, like... the idea of, like, a fully conscious and aware, like, essentially AI, and, you know, the validity of that being and awareness, and this is made, you know, extra sad because the AI version of this actress, like, can kind of, like, starts, like, she ends up learning about, like, the fact that she kills herself and is, you know, depressed because she was a lesbian in a time when she, like, couldn't be, you know, out and everything, and it's just like, oh my god, like, that would be so awful and so sad. And then she's learning she's essentially trapped in this one movie. Like, that's also the other part. It's just like, God.
And then they fall in love.
Yeah.
While everything's frozen, and they're in there for... I don't know how long.
Months, I mean...
A long time, for sure. Weeks at least. And they fall in love, and then they're going to erase her and reset her, which she doesn't even really know about. And she doesn't, you know, our main actress here, she doesn't really, like, try to push back on that too fast. She does in the last second where she's like,
shocked. Wait! She's shocked. She's kind of
she
like
only has
trying
5
to process.
seconds.
Yeah. She has like no time to do anything.
She doesn't even get to say goodbye to her.
Yeah.
She doesn't any of that stuff. So that was real. That's the gut punch of the episode is when she gets like reset, and it's like she's
she doesn't
in there
remember
now.
anything.
And she even contemplates staying in there with her and not letting the credits roll.
Yeah.
And trying to recoup what she's lost. But, you know, how do you redo it like that? And she ultimately does end up deciding to leave because the other one decided to die for her, and she has to kind of leave the film with this new ending.
I think if she wasn't going to die, I think she would have tried to stay. But because she's, like, literally dying, yeah.
Well, what would happen once the movie ends?
They're just there. They're just in that set.
But wouldn't she freeze? Because there is no more lines?
No, because she's, like, aware. She's, like, extra aware. She doesn't freeze when everybody else does. At least I don't think so. I think they would be, but who knows? I mean, yeah, I don't know what
You'd be stuck in the confines of that black and white world. I definitely thought we were going to get a Pleasantville thing here where they're going to start having color.
Yeah.
And she even asks her, like, what color these things are, and she, like, doesn't realize it, but she then realizes, like, I can't see in color.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting aspect of this, but I don't know what would have happened had she stayed. right?
I don't know,
With her consciousness stuck in there. I feel like once you shut the computer down, you die. You wouldn't be existing anymore because the computer houses your consciousness.
Yeah.
And without it, they're not unless they're uploaded to some server or some cloud or something. I feel like the computer is in charge of their connection.
It probably would be on the cloud because I think that they that's when she reaches her hand through.
Yeah.
And she's able to kind of go in and see all the information about herself, but
so
it ends up being so sad because she leaves and then they show the clips of the movie that they did. I'm like, how did they do this?
So
her acting is so it is just one of those this is so clearly a first take. She doesn't know what's happening.
That movie would get bombed so hard. You think Snow White has a bad review or a bad score on IMDb? Funny. This would have a 0.0. It's not even possible.
But then they send her a gift, and it's her audition reel where she is picking up the phone and being like, "Hello, is anyone there?" And then she has a phone that she can talk to her through, which is also it's just permanent. Oh my god,
permanent long distance relationship.
Yeah, what?
With
so
someone
they're gonna
you can never meet.
Yeah, they're gonna connect again. They're gonna fall in love again, and then they just can never be together.
I have to believe with the wealth that Brandy has.
She's gonna be
that she would be able to buy this technology for her house, go back in and fall in love with this avatar AI, whatever the fuck again.
With how successful the movie is, because it is this success obviously
on
that happens.
Streamberry.
Yes. Hopefully that is what happens, and that's what I'll think too, is that they that's just their first little conversation, but then afterwards they get the redream technology and are able to actually talk.
Yeah, we didn't mention Aquafina's in this. And I also feel like when she gets pushed into this kind of alternate reality thing that she goes into, she accepts that a little too easy, but it is what it is. And it's a tragic one for sure. I mean, romance episodes, we got a couple of them this season. Famously, Hang the DJ and San Junipero, which are my two favorite episodes of the show. But I will say, after having now watched this season, I will go on record for sure and say this is my favorite season of Black Mirror. I thought pretty much every one of them, for the most part, was great. The next one is my least favorite. I know Kaylee really enjoyed it. I didn't like it as much as her, but I didn't dislike it. But everything else I hit with. I would say Hotel Reverie would be second least favorite. And then I don't know what my favorite episode is. I know that Common People hit me the hardest, but USS Callister into Infinity was an unexpected surprise because I never expected to get a sequel to that. And where it leaves off, I'm pretty damn sure we're getting a part 3 eventually, and maybe season 8, which I would love to see. Eulogy is a real hard hitter as well. I thought that was fantastic. So it would be hard to rank these on what is my favorite. What about you? What's your favorite episode?
Probably Common People. Yeah, I think that one definitely this season. I really like the Throng. The USS Callister. I mean, they're all great. I agree with you that I think this is probably the best. I liked Hotel Reverie quite a bit. I think Eulogy might be
your least favorite?
I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if it's my least favorite, but it's lower, I guess, than the others.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll get there when we talk about it, but yeah.
Okay. Where are we at?
Oh, and then I also really like the Chocolatier one.
Oh, yeah.
They're all great.
Bete noire.
Well, there's 6 episodes, so we go do this in 2 parts.
We could.
It's up to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's 10:23. You have to go to bed at 11.
Yeah.
So, it just depends on if you want to talk more.
Well, why don't
I guess we can cut it off here and then do part 2 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you guys already know, because of the length of this video, we're going to cut it off here. And we'll do episodes 4 through 6 mañana.
Yes.
So, yeah. And by the time you see this, I will have recorded with the Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast. Very exciting. Yay. I finally am going to get on the show, which I am doing tomorrow, which should be today for you guys, since I'll upload this tomorrow. Anyway, so that's Black Mirror, episodes 1 through 3. What are your thoughts? And what's your ranking of the season? What did you like? What didn't you like? What are your thoughts on what we said? Do you think that I need therapy? I do, for sure, but I can't afford it. Ha ha!
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just common people.
Yeah.
We are definitely not luxe or deluxe.
Yeah, we are.
Well, you are to me.
Oh.
And I'll pull my teeth out and kill myself on camera for your...
No.
Okay. I won't. PayPal me. Just kidding. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.